Welcome everyone, it's Neil here from 3D Tudor, back today with probably the best geometry node we've ever done, which is the Wild West Foliage Geometry Node. And as you can see on my screen, here it is in real time. So you can see I can actually move around while this is all there. And the best thing about this is everything is procedurally done. So you can literally have this set up like this, or a larger world if you need, in minutes, not hours. Now, as I always say, if you want to get this and all of our other geometry nodes for free, then check out our Patreon. Links are down below. And that's enough of all that. So let's move on. Now, I'm going to break this video down into sections because it will be quite a long video. There's a lot to cover in here. Not only do we have a geometry node, so a geometry node for all this foliage, but we also have as well a materials. This material is 4 materials in one. I'm going to teach you how to actually put those onto your terrain as well. It's very easy. It's just click and drag basically. And the other thing is I'm also going to teach you how to actually do a little bit of terrain work. So I'll teach you how to do that as well. So we're going to break it down. The first thing I'm going to cover though is going to be the geometry node, because I know most of you out there are going to be really interested in that. And then after that, I'll move on to the actual material, and finally then the sculpting. So if you stay till the end as well, I will show the people out there that are struggling getting these into their own projects, how exactly to do that and how easy it is. So you can either skip ahead to that, or you can actually follow the video along. All right, everyone. So with all that said, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is just turn everything back on so we can actually see what we're doing. And then what I'm going to do is hide this terrain out of the way. So I'm going to hide this terrain, hide this material out of the way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a new plane. So let's press Shift S and cursor to world origin, Shift A, and let's come to plane like so. I'm going to press S to bring it out, and then all I'm going to do is move it to the side. And the last thing I want to do is, because the geometry node is also based on the angle of surfaces, so you don't want, leaves and flowers and foliage growing out at 90-degree angles and things like that. We've actually put that into the geometry node as well. So all I'm going to do then is just come in, grab this bottom end. I'm going to press E and Z to pull it down like so. So you can see this is a 90-degree angle. And I'm going to press E and Y and pull this out. And then all I'm going to do is slope this down like so. So you can see we've got a 90-degree angle here, a bit of a slope, and then a flat surface on here. All right, what I'm going to do next then is I'm going to come in, I'm going to grab the whole thing, and I'm going to give it some subdivisions. So let's subdivide it like so. And these subdivisions are basically there, not for the geometry node as you might think, but they're there actually for the weight painting, because this actual geometry node will work on weight painting, and the more dense the actual mesh, the better the weight painting will be, and I'll show you why that works in just a second. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to press Ctrl A or transforms, right click, set origins geometry, and then what we're going to do is do a bit of weight painting right now. So I'm going to come in, go to weight painting, and basically all this is telling the geometry node where you want to put things. So if we come over to the right hand side, we can actually make a vertex group. So I'll make one vertex group for foliage. So let's put foliage like so, and one for small pebbles. Now, if we come to the foliage one, now we should be able to just draw in, so we can actually draw in. Let's make our brush a little bit bigger. And because this is a foliage one, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw it around here. I'm going to leave a gap actually down this main part over here, so this part here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pebbles on the side. I'm also going to show you how the angles work. So I'm going to draw in just a little bit down here, and then we'll draw in some round ones down here like so. So that is the foliage done. Then we'll come to small pebbles, and with the small pebbles, I'm just going to draw some in the sides here like so. I'll draw a few dots just dotted around here like so, or something like this, a little bit more over here. And that's it. You're basically done. Once you've done your weight paint, everything is done. You can actually do this as well in real time when you've got the geometry node on there. But I think for visually, for you seeing how we do it, it's actually easier doing it like this. So now let's come to object mode. And all I'm going to do is head on over to my modifiers tab. I'm going to add in then a modifier, so add in a geometry node. And the geometry node I'm going to bring in is going to be the Wild West foliage. So let's bring that in. The moment you bring it in, nothing's going to happen. Now what I want to do is just put it on object mode, just so you can see what I'm doing. Now at the moment you can see that both of these, so weight paint terrain is on 1, weight paint pebbles is on 1. You can work with these, but as I said, I recommend that you actually work with the weight paint. I think it's much easier. So all you need to do is just click both of these off, and then we'll come to this one first. So we had one that's called foliage, so this one will be for the terrain. We have one that's called pebbles, and this will be for the pebbles. Now this information from that weight paint now has been stored in the geometry node, and now we can simply come in and change the density up of these, and there you go, you've got your actual rocks in. Next of all then, let's make these rocks a little bit bigger. So if I increase this one, we'll make the rocks a little bit bigger, and you can see they're exactly where that weight paint is, and they're coming on this slope here. You can see that not many are coming onto this angle here, and the only reason why a few of them are is because on here as well we also have a surface angle randomness. Now if I turn up that surface angle, you will see as I get higher, now they start going down the side. So it's very, very handy to have that. If I put this back to 1 and then turn this down to, let's say, 0, now you'll see that there's just a few creeping over that side. So that's exactly what we want, something like that. We can also as well turn it down to make sure that they're not actually going to be there, as you can see. So I'm just going to put it up a little bit though, just to make sure these are here. Alright, so now then, let's move down, and then what I'll do is I'll put it, you know what, I'll put it on render view now so you can actually see what's happening. And there you go, there's our actual big rocks in place. Now, of course, we can make these bigger, so we can actually bring them out a little bit bigger if we want to. You can make them as big as you want, really. Now, the little pebbles down here, let's actually bring the density up of those then. And there you go, you can see all those little pebbles forming. And as well, we can actually turn those up to have them a little bit bigger like so. And you can see exactly where I drew that weight paint is exactly where those little pebbles will come in. And now let's scroll down a little bit further. So we've got small cactus. Let's bring some of those in then. So I'll put the density up. And as I bring this up, you can see small cactus forming everywhere. Let's change the scale up as well then. So let's change that scale. Not of that one. Of the small cactus. There we go. Let's bring those up. And then you can see we've got many, many different types of small cactuses, as you can see, all over the place. Let's actually turn the density down. I think it's a little bit too dense. Let's put it on something like 2, like so. And again, we've got the scale randomness. So you can make it so some cactuses are extremely big, some are extremely small. It's just the difference between these, actually. Again, we've got maximum surface angle, so all of that good stuff is in there for you. And then we've got small foliage, which is basically all the little leaves and things. On this occasion, they're not leaves, they're more like brush. So all we need to do here is turn up the viewport density. So if I put the viewport density on something like 3000, hey-ho, you'll see that when that loads up, there you go, it's all popped in place. Now the thing is, with the viewport density and the render density, the reason I've put it on 3000 just to show you, if it's working a little bit slow, just turn it down to 1000, like so. And then you'll see it actually corresponds to the geometry node, and now it's actually much quicker and actually moving around. Still in real time. Remember, this is in cycles, and this is still actually okay for my actual machine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this down to 500, like so, and then you can see that's something that I can actually work with now. Now what I can work on is getting them the right height and things like that. So if I come in and I go to my small foliage scale, and I put this on 0.2 for instance, you can see now it makes them much, much taller. Taller than some of the rocks actually, and that might be the look that you're looking for. Now what you want to do is you want to set the render view. So once I've got the scale of everything, the maximum surface angle of my small foliage, then I'll come in and I'll put it on something like 2000 just to get an idea what it's going to look like when it's actually rendered. And you can see it's way, way too much at that amount. You can see it's just too much, and we don't really want that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this more like at 1000. Let's try 1000 and see if that's any better. And there we go. I think that's kind of coming there. Still think it's a little bit too much. So let's try it at 600. Yeah, and I think that's going to look better. Now, the other thing to remember is, at the moment, we have no material under here. When I did the actual weight paint as well, I made these pretty straight. So just take that into account when you're actually looking at this. But I think 600 is going to be about right. So what I'm going to do now is go to the rendered density, put that at 600. And when we render that out now, it's going to be at 600 regardless of what the viewport is. So we can really pull the viewport density right down and still render out at high density. So let's put it on 200, something like that. And there we go. Now we have an idea where it's going to go. All right, so next of all then, let's move down. And what we have here is something called stems. And these stems basically are going to be the large kind of cactus type plants that are going to go, you know, above everything else. So what I'm going to do is just put the viewport density on 10, something like this. And there we go. You can see all of these stems. There's going to be way too many here, by the way, but you can see all of these stems just poking out of there. Let's turn it down a few more. So let's put it on to 3, like so. And then what we'll do is we'll turn up the height. We'll put it on 0.25. Let's try that. Let's put it a little bit higher. So let's bring up that just to show you how these work. And you can see as well, again, we've got a height randomness here. So let's turn that up and make some of them much taller than other ones. And then what we'll do is we'll bring this down now, like so. And once I've done that now, you can see that we've got a huge variation in these. Now, what goes on top of these then? Why do they look like that? Well, if I carry on down, you can see I've got one that says large plants here. If I put this on 0.1, then you'll see things start to grow on top of them. Let's turn this up to 1. And there you go. That is what they are. So you can see now exactly what these are. These are obviously a little bit too big. So let's put it on 0.6, make them a little bit smaller. And then what we'll do is as well, we'll bring that height down. So we'll bring the height down because they are too tall. And there you go. It's simple as that. And the other thing is, of course, we can come down now and set this down to something like 1, only having a few in there. Let's then set the render density to also 1 as well. These are a little bit heavy actually, so if I was you, I would set, once you've got them right, set the viewport density down. We've got to think about performance and optimization on lower end machines as well, and we've tried to actually do that with this geometry node. All right, so the next one then is going to be the which one is it? Plant extras. So the plant extras are basically little like leaves, more leaves that are going to go on here. So you'll see here. So now if I put this on to 1, let's say, so put it on 1, you will see that we get all of these little extras coming out. Now, of course, they are way too big. You might want them like that, but I don't. Let's put it on 0.1. And then what you'll see is we actually get all of these little groves coming out of here. Let's turn them up to 0.3. And now you can see what they actually do. So now you can see all of this done in minutes. You can see that you can have complete control over where all of the geometry node parts go. You can see just how easy it is to actually change these things, and for sure you can see that it's pretty well optimized as well in case you're doing larger scenes than this, so you can really pull it back if needed. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move on now and show you the material. So I'm going to show you how the material works as well as the sculpting. I'm going to do both of those together. And then once we've done that, I'll actually show you how easy it is to get it into other projects of your own. So what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to come in and I'm going to hide this out of the way. So I'm actually going to turn off my geometry node, and then I'm going to grab this part. I'm going to press Shift D. And what I'm going to do is drag it over so I can show you the comparison of these two, so you've got something to work with in real time. Now, the other thing is when you're working with sculpting, for instance, you really want to work on a 3D object. So at the moment you can see this is 2D. Let's actually create this into 3D. What it also means is, as well, I can copy this over to here, the exact setup for the geometry nodes. Now, it won't take over the weight paint once I've actually begun sculpting, but what it will do is it will actually take over the size of the rocks, all the foliage, all of that kind of good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this geometry node off like so, and now I can come on over, and also I'm going to minus these off as well because I don't need those on. And now let's add in another modifier, and the one we're going to add in is going to be a solidify. So let's add in a solidify. Let's turn up our solidify so you can see it's turned up. Let's put even thickness on, and now we actually have something to work with when we actually sculpt, which is really important. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger as well, so something like this should be absolutely fine. Let's then apply that with Control A, and now you can see that's exactly what we've got. Now, the other thing is when you're working with sculpting, it's always a good idea to actually come in to sculpt mode. So let's go into our sculpt mode, and what we want to do is we can press the R button. And what that's going to do is bring up this kind of table. And this table then is going to show me how dense I want my mesh. So if I want my mesh at 0.1 and then I press Control R, watch what happens. If I now go in, you can see all of that mesh now is evenly done. And it looks pretty nice. And it is actually much easier to sculpt on. So if I come in and press the Shift button, which is just going to smooth off my edges, you can see now I can just go in and smooth all of these edges. Now, we're not going to do a work of art at this stage or anything like that. I'm just going to quickly show you how you can get a really nice terrain going simply and easily just with a few brushes. So all I've done at this point is just smoothed off the edges. The other thing that you want to do is you want to come in then now to the clay strips, and you want to go to your brush, and the one you want to turn on is front faces only. And the reason you want to turn that on is if I come in and pull it out like so, you can see it pulls all of these at the back as well. And we don't want that because we don't want to destroy the back end. So what we're going to do is come to brush, front faces only. And then when I do this now, you'll see it doesn't actually do anything to that end. Now what I'm going to do now is just turn down my brush a little bit. And we're just going to do a little bit of sculpting just to get some terrain going in there. Like so, just to make it a bit more uneven. And on this bit of the terrain, actually, I'm just going to pull it in a little bit. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to actually put some material in there, which is kind of going to be a, you know, a lumpy path or something like that. So what I tend to do is I will do the big parts first. Then I will come with the smaller details. So you can see smaller details like so. Still using the same brush, the clay strips. You can also press Control, and what that'll do is it'll just pull it in instead of pulling it out. So Control and click. And I'm doing this actually as well with the mouse. Now the next thing I always do is I'll press R and I'll bring this down then. So I'll bring it down smaller like so. Left click and then Control R. And then what you'll find is when you draw in here, you've got a lot more kind of density to actually work with, meaning that you can actually put a lot more details if you want. So I'll draw in just a few more details like so, especially on this bit. And finally, when I've done all that, I'll press Control R again, just to actually reset the mesh. So if I press tab now, you can see it's reset all the mesh. And the last brush that I always use is going to be the flatten. So I'll come in now and just use my flatten on this part here, just to kind of flatten everything off. I hate using the shift, so the smooth. I hate it when you know, you just smooth everything off because you lose all of those details. Better to come in and just use your flatten on these parts, and you can see we can still keep plenty of details like so. Now, as I said, I'm not going to make this a work of art of anything. I've pretty much got what I need here. And now we're ready to move on to the next part. So that's how you can sculpt your terrain quickly and easily. I do recommend you play around with some of these. They are the main brushes that I use to get this kind of rocky effect. And then again, once I've done, just press Control R just to reset that mesh. And then you can come on over now to object mode. And there we go. Now from here, this is where we can actually come in now and split all of this off, because we really don't need the back end, or at least I don't need the back end for me, and I need to kind of split all of this off. So the way that I'm going to do it is I'm going to come in and just put a line over this part here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide this part of the way, and then I'm going to come to the side part of here. So let's just press 3 to go into side view. And then what I'll do is I'll press tab, grab everything. I'm going to come up to the bisect tool. So come down to where it says bisect. You're just going to cut across like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to mark a seam. Now what that means is now I can come in, grab all of this part. So I'm in face select. I can press L to select it all, and I can cut away just this top part. That's what I actually want to cut away. Just this very top part like so. So if I come in now, mesh, bisect, and then cut straight across here like so. And then what I can do now, I've got that line there. I can come down now to this little sub menu down here, and I can click clear inner. And you can see now it takes all of that away. And because I only had this part selected, it will only delete that part. Now what I'm going to do is this part again. So I'm going to grab all this. I'm going to press 3. So I'm in side view. I'm going to come down to mesh. I'm going to go to bisect, and I'm going to come down and just drop it down here. And of course, I'm going to turn this from inner to the outer, and then that's got rid of that bit. Now I need one more part, which is going to be up here then. I don't really care about this front section here because I am just showing you how to do this. So I'm going to come in again, and I've got to be careful now because I only want to select this part here. I don't want to select the whole thing. Again, make sure you select it only in face select. Then what we're going to do is mesh. We're going to come down to bisect. I'm going to cut it straight across here like so, and then I'm going to clear the inner like so, and there we go. Now we've got this to actually work with, and you can see it's much lower now on the actual faces because we've got rid of most of the mesh. We've only kept the mesh that we actually need. Alright, so now we're moving on. If I press Alt H, I'm going to bring back everything. What I want to do is bring in my terrain material. Now this material, I'll quickly show you if I go into it. So let's go into our shading. You will see if I zoom out on here, this is the material setup. So let's just press dot on here. Let's put it on. And you'll see when you first bring it in, it actually looks something like this. Now we're going to be using vertex painting to paint this on. It's very easy. It's just like weight painting, but you can see if you want to set up your own materials, this is how you're going to set them up. So we've basically got 3 materials, and they are plugged into the red, blue and green channels, and we also have an opacity on here as well, which I'll show you in a minute. So that is how they actually work. Not going to go too much into how they work. I just want to show you them actually working so you can actually use them yourself. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come to this part here. I'm going to press A and then U, and I'm going to use unwrap. So we're just going to unwrap it. Now just remember that when we've unwrapped that, we've got a seam on there, so it's going to unwrap that seam. Now what I want to do is I want to get that material on. So I'm just going to go onto material view. I'm going to let these materials load up, and then I'm just going to copy the material from one to the other. It's up to you. You can either come in and just add in your material, so terrain material, or you can just grab this one and then grab this one, press Ctrl L, and you're going to link materials like so, and there you go. Now what I want to do is now I've got my material there. I just want to come in there. It's all unwrapped, everything's ready to go, and now all we want to do is come on over to Vertex Paint, and you'll see everything disappears. But the moment I change this, so the moment I go, let's say, to the red color and start drawing on here, here you go, now you can actually see something. So you can see all of that work we did was in here now. You can see all of that lumpiness, and you can also see that we started with opacity, which is great for how it actually looks. So there you go. You can see all of this looking really, really nice now. Let's draw this a little bit back as well. And I think we've got our halfway part. You can also press Control on this, and you can actually take it, not Control, sorry, not Control. That will take it down the other way. So what I'll do is I'll come in with the opacity after. So we'll draw it up to here because we've got a few pebbles around here, like so. And then what I'll show you is, let's bring in the other color. So we'll bring in the green. So if I bring in the green, you can see this is the red. So I'm going to draw a little bit on there like so. And we've also got a blue. So let's bring in the blue, but that's opacity. So let's bring that on here like so. And then we'll bring in now the other one, which is going to be our rich soil. Now, the other thing I need to show you is over on the left-hand side, you've also got these all set out here. So you can see dry soil, moss, opacity, and rich soil. So you can see if I click on the rich soil, you can see that's the red one. If I come over and click on the opacity, you can see that brings the opacity in. And if I come over and click on something like the dry soil, that is the dry soil. Now, what I tend to do is I will come in and just drop a little bit these on. Wherever there's going to be bigger lumps, that is where I'm dropping on these kind of ridges. So you can see under here, I'm dropping some kind of ridges under here. And then what I tend to do is I'll come in and I'll average everything out. So this bone here kind of averages everything out, as you can see. And just click on it gently, and you will see that you can actually average things out and get some real kind of distribution of the texture on there without being too strong. Because sometimes I feel like we just go a little bit too much with the textures, and it ends up way too thick on there. Doesn't blend in well. So this is how I actually blend them in. You can see already that is looking pretty nice. So now if I come on to rendered view, let this load up, and there you go. You can see that's looking very nice, very natural, and that's what we're looking for. Now I've just missed one bit, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and go to brush, and then I'm going to go to opacity, which is this one here. Make my brush a little bit smaller, and then kind of draw these parts in. So I've not got them there. I'm going to go around this side and make sure all of this part looking very nice. All right, so there we go. That is the material. That is how easy it is to use. You can see how versatile it is. You can see it's one of those where you're really going to want this material in your own projects. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go on and bring in some weight paint. So what I'm going to do is now you can see this ridge here. So if I come over here, this then will be pebbles. So I'm going to press the plus, put it down as pebbles. And then what I'm also going to do is click the plus, and I'm going to put this one as foliage, like so. And now let's come to our pebbles. So all I want is a few pebbles just on the edges of here, just marking kind of where that part is going to go down there. So the actual path that's going to go down there. And then what I'm going to do now is come to my foliage, and I'm going to mark my foliage like so. So I'm going all over here, not going too close. Now, the other thing to remember is if you come in and turn this off, you can actually see where it's actually up to now. So you can see probably gone a little bit too far. You can press the control button just to go bring it back like so. And then to bring it more, you're going to turn this off. And now you can see where it's going to come up to. So I'm just drawing on now all the way to the edges of here. and then I'm going to draw on all the way to the edges of here, like so, maybe this bit here as well, and then turn it back on, and all we want to do is then just fill in these parts, like so. Okay, that's that part. And now I can come over to object mode, and finally, I can actually grab this one here. So remember this one that we made before with the actual geometry node on? All I'm going to do now is come in, so I'll grab this one, grab this one, I'm going to press Ctrl L, and I'm going to copy modifiers. And the moment to do that, then you can see now this has a modifier on it, and then I can actually come in and turn this on, double tap the A, and there you go. It's as simple as that to make everything. Simple as that, guys. And you can see just how nice that actually looks. So let's turn this off as well. And there we go. Now we can have a look round. And the other thing is about this setup is I've also included here a compositor. You can see this is what I actually created before. This is the compositor setup. So the moment you hit that render, you will be able to render your scene out, and it will be all set up. So all of the ambient occlusion will be in there. You've got gloss in there. I've put a diffuse color in there as well, and basically set it all up so it's going to look really, really nicely. Now the other thing is as well, there's more. We've also set up our sky. So we've got a sky texture in here. This is what's lighting the whole scene. So even if you go into your other projects, you can see how our sky is set up, how our compositor is set up, and you can actually use that as well in your own projects. Now, finally, how do we get this into a new project? Well, what I've done is I've actually made that really easy for you as well. All you need to do, let's just turn this off a minute so we can actually see what we're doing. You can see if I come over, let's just turn this on as well, to this little sphere here. Not only does this sphere has the terrain material on there, but it also has the actual geometry node plugged into there. So everything basically is on this sphere. Now, all you want to do is just press Ctrl C, open up a new blend file, and I'll open up one now. So here is a brand new blend file. This could be your own project with everything in there. And then all I'm going to do is press Ctrl V and drop that in. And you'll notice that because I brought this sphere in with the geometry node on, it actually brought in all of these parts. Now, the best thing is if I scroll this down, all of these parts are actually in the collection that they should be, which means that this sphere now, so this sphere over here, if I bring it over, will actually be working in your own project. What it means as well is that you can now, let's say you had a plane in here, so Shift A, let's bring in a plane. You can see now, if I make this a little bit bigger, coming over, add modifier, geometry node, click the little down arrow, there is our Wild West foliage. If I come over as well to my material, click the little down arrow, here is our terrain, so terrain material. So you can see everything is in there now, and it's just basically copy and paste into your own scene. All right, let's close that down and go back to my old scene. Let's put it on rendered view. And that's it, everyone. So I hope you really enjoyed this. I hope you find this geometry node absolutely amazing like we did when we actually created it. You can see just how easy it is to use. You can see it's versatile. And this will be available in the links down below, both for standard and commercial license. And again, if you want to get this for free, check out our Patreon, because when you join up, I think it's the $10 one, then you can get this for free anyway. All right, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.